All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jake Vanderlinden, and I'm going to be your presenter for our Alexandria Items Management Workshop today. We're going to be covering quite a few different topics as we get going into this. With me today, I will have Seneca Ramirez working with Q&A. She'll be helping me to kind of stay on track and make sure that we're getting all the information out to you guys. There we go. Now our slides are catching up. So really fast, everyone, we are excited to have you with us today. This is kind of a highly sought after webinar. To get us started, I want to show you a little bit of some things that we've been working on from our training department here. So as you can see, all of the information that you send into Alexandria through all of our support phone calls, our surveys, our emails, we're taking all of that data and looking to combine it into more useful, actionable items that we can work with. As you can see here, item management is a very, very highly sought after piece of information when it comes to those support phone calls. So we are using that data to help drive some of the things that we're presenting to you guys. So please be sure, let us know how we're doing. Follow up with our surveys. Let our tech support guys know exactly what you're looking for. And that's all just more information that we can use to get you better and better training resources and more things to help manage your Alexandria system there. So we can't thank you guys enough for helping us out and sending this information in. Please don't stop. Let's keep having that come in. Now, as for our training today, we are going to be talking about item records specifically. We're going to talk about MARC content. We're going to be talking about some of the new standards and changes and things like that that have come about in the last few years. We're also going to be talking about tools to use to manipulate and modify those records, as well as a very special part of the program called authority control. My camera isn't working today, guys. Otherwise, I'd be waving at you and kind of having a little bit of fun. So I do apologize about that one. We'll see if we can't get it working a little bit later on as we continue on with our training today. So the first thing though, guys, is I do want to kind of address kind of the big elephant in the room. And this is the fact that the library world has changed over the last few years with things like AARC2, RDA standards, and all of these new things that have kind of been implemented. All we do here at Alexandria is we try to keep up and make sure that our program is working around those new standards. And we realize that, maybe this information might not have got passed along. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to kind of explain some of these things to you, get a little bit more in depth with the item records themselves, and then we're going to show you how to better manage them. The first place that we're going to start off today is going to be with our item records. We're going to talk about MARC records and content. We're going to show you a couple of different views for both our simplified view, our MARC view, and how you can work with that information. We're going to talk a little bit about consistency, everyone, because when it comes to cataloging and keeping that information in your system, it's all about consistency. We're using book, not volume. We're using volume instead of series. However you're going to be doing these things, it is important to make sure that it's consistent across all of your records. And then we're going to talk about some of the vendor specifics, things that you can ask for from your vendors to help make sure that you're getting that content in those very specific fields. So if you're all ready to jump in, get started, and have a little bit of fun learning more about your Alexandria program, we are too. Now, just as a little bit of a recap, everyone, if you're not familiar with your Zoom controls, so either across the top or bottom of your screen, you should see a Zoom meeting panel, okay? It's going to have a couple of buttons. The primary one here, everyone, is the Q&A button. Okay, that's how you're going to be able to communicate with us here as we're going through our session today. So please go ahead and get those questions in. That way we can make sure to clarify anything that we need to as we're going along. We'll try to answer some of those questions as we are going through the webinar. We're also going to go ahead and actually have a wrap-up Q&A session at the very end where we're going to go ahead and talk about just anything that we didn't or any other questions that have come up with previous parts of our workshop today. So be sure that you're familiar with those Zoom tools. If you can't hear me, let us know there as well. Again, I've got Seneca in the background. She's going to be keeping me apprised of anything going on that way. And we just want to make sure that everybody's getting some good content here. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. And the first place, like I said, guys, that we're going to talk about our item records in Alexandria. Jumping into our item records here, guys, for those of you that aren't familiar, we went into our librarian module, and then we're just going into items here. And I'm going to start off by just grabbing a really quick item record by doing a blank search. Now, when we're looking at our item information, it's very important to keep in mind that our simple view here is really showing all of those specified fields that have been outlined with all of those new standards and changes. So for instance, Things that you might not be aware of is that when it comes to series information, according to the Library of Congress, the series information is located in the 830 fields, along with that being the 830A and 830H. So you'll want to make sure that your MARC records have those here. Our MARC editing tools for these fields are actually going to show you in the tools exactly which information you're looking for. If we're looking for series, again, that's 830 information. Oops, sorry about that, guys. My mouse jumped a little bit there. We're going to say add 830. There we go. And then we would be able to modify that from this view. Now, as you can see, we are looking at a very specific MARC record view. We're looking at only the 830 tag with this MARC editor. Keep in mind that you do have the full MARC view as well by coming into the item record, unlocking it, using your action menu to toggle the MARC view. And then you'll be able to see all of those MARC fields outlined with their proper field values. So again, our series information is included in the 830 fields. Our 14 cows for America title, as you can see, not part of a series, so we don't have any 830 or 840 information. Okay, we're going to go ahead and actually find a title here really quick that does have some. We're going to go ahead and grab Harry Potter. And as you can see, everyone, because I was already in my MARC view, when I perform my search, it maintains that view that I'm looking for here. And then in this way, I can actually then scroll down. And as you can see, I do have a 490 tag. As everybody should be aware of, 490 is allowed for cataloging of series information. But again, according to the Library of Congress, that has been moved to the 830. So we scroll down a little bit farther. There's our 830 tag showing our Harry Potter series information. Okay, this is extremely important, guys, because if the information does live in one location but not the other, it will be in the database but just not showing. Here in just a little bit, we will be showing you specific tools, namely our fix series command. Here in just a few minutes, it's going to show you how to transition this information rather quickly. For now, we just want to make sure that you guys are understanding where this information needs to live, okay? So when it comes to that simple view, again, guys, we are dealing with that very specific information that matches that 830 field that we saw in our MARC record view. Now, the one thing that you can see here we are missing is volume information, all right? Volume information, again, is very specific to that 830H field. We're going to be looking in that section specifically. Now, one of the bigger things with your volumes, and more especially when it comes to the items showing up in proper order of reading. So, you know, I want to see book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4 in my researcher. Having proper volume numbers with padding is incredibly important here. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to my search window here really quick, and we're just going to look for Harry Potter. Now, ideally, again, these books, we would like to see them come up in order. So Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is number 1. I believe Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix is like number 5 or 6. So obviously these are currently out of order. But as you can see here, the biggest reason why is we do not have any of that volume information showing which book should belong in which position. One other title that I'm going to show you this with here really quick, The Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel. Now, by all means, everyone, keep in mind, you do not need to get this full information in there. I just wanted to make sure that I was getting the exact book series that I was looking for here. I could have ended this search at The Secrets of the Immortal, The Secrets of, and started to get that refined search. I just wanted to make sure that we were getting this exact series here. But again, as you can see, so we do have our overdrive book. Now, this would be improper cataloging. You see how we've got book 1 in the title information? That's kind of a big no-no, guys. We don't want to see stuff like that. This series information should be in the series area. But again, we're missing our volume entries. This one, Alchemist, is book 1, 2, and then Sorceress would be book 3. So again, we're kind of out of order here, okay? What this means, guys, is coming back to our books and our item records, and this is really going to be something that your vendors can provide you this information, but a lot of times it might be improperly formatted. If I put information in this fashion, 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and so on, it's important to keep in mind that in computer parlance, we have to zero pad, meaning books 1, 10, 100 are all going to come before book 2, okay? So it's really important to keep in mind zero padding, book 001 or book 01 in the case of only a 2-digit volume series, okay? By zero padding and putting them in proper format, we're then going to make sure that these books are displayed in the proper order, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Okay. Now, again, there are tools and utilities to modify these things as a whole. Don't worry. Again, we're going to be touching on these here in just a couple of minutes when we actually start talking about the tools. For now, we're just kind of becoming a little bit more familiar again with all those mark record fields. Okay. So that's one of the big ones that got updated with those new changes. Some of the other things that got updated as well are things like medium types and genre information. So medium types are kind of a really big one here. When it comes to mediums, these ones were more updated with the RDA standards, okay? The new RDA standards for medium types dictate that this information is found in the 336, 337, and 338 fields of the item's mark record. Again, to see this, you would want to switch into the toggle mark view option. And from here, as you can see, we don't have any of that 330 information, so we are defaulting to the 245H. That was the old AARC2 standard. Again, this has been updated with the new RDA, okay? So a great example here, everyone, is I'm sure that you've seen this in your collection, the big kind of elephant in the room when it comes to medium types, text, unmediated volume, okay? You're also going to see things, maybe sound, unmediated volume, things like that. There's a lot of different ways that this is coming down to, but what the primary function of that is, everybody, is it's just an extreme level of cataloging standard, okay? It's a text, meaning it's a written document. It's unmediated, meaning there's no music, there's no movies, there's nothing else that accompanies this information. And then it's a volume because it's contained between two covers, okay? This is essentially what they're getting at with these new specifications. And unfortunately, if your records contain those fields, 336, 337, and 338 in your mark record, that is what's going to be displayed. If that's not there, again, 245H is what we're going to be dealing with, and it should default to this one. Now, what it means from a cataloging standpoint, everyone, is that you kind of have two options to approaching these fields. One is that, oops, we want to switch back to our simple view, not copies. There we go. We'll get this fixed here. So what this means, everyone, is that for one, we can actually go into the item record itself. We could toggle into our mark view. And from there, we could fully remove those specific mark record fields. To me, this is going to be improper cataloging because the information does exist in proper format. The better thing is just being able to have it hidden with an alias or some other piece of identifying characteristic. That's what we've created with our authority control tools so that you can manage those directly from there. We're going to be talking authority control more in depth here a little bit later on, but that's really the two options that you have, guys. Either we can go in, create aliases and hide some of the information using the Alexandria Authority Control Manager, or we can go in and remove the contents from the mark record. Either one is entirely up to you. On a more personal note, I strongly recommend using the aliases and authority controls and things like that. Just going to be a little bit easier, a little bit more straightforward for you, and you'll be able to see a lot of information regarding all of those various things well in that tool. So again, more on authority control a little bit later on in our workshop today. Now, to go along with our medium types, as I mentioned, genre is a new field, or is a field that's been updated as well. Genre is located in our 655A field. This is where it's all controlled. Now, one of the things that I do want to point out with all of these fields, everyone, since we did just talk about authority control, is that all of these fields are authority controlled based. So that means that managing your genres, again, you can do that on an individual record level. The nice thing with genres is that you can use utilities as well to change some genre information. But overall, this is cataloged in authority control, and you can really use that authority control to go in there and start making things match up so that you're not having, you know, the same type of genre just spelled in slightly different ways. Fantasy fiction with 2 capital Fs, for instance. You know, you'll want to unify those and make it the same as much as you can. Again, all of these do have mark editing tools. So if I needed to come in here and move information around, I have the ability to do so. Okay, so as you can see, this has 2 different genres. If one of them is incorrect, I can go ahead and remove it. But one of the great things with that authority control tool, everyone, is again that we can do this in mass. We can change multiple items all at once. All right, now, To go along with talking about genre, I want to take a brief second and talk about call numbers as well. Guys, really fast, genreification of libraries has become a really big thing these days. Especially with some of our younger library levels where their students are wanting to deal with the collection more on like that bookstore format where I can say, here's all my science fiction books, go look for what you want according to author last name and things like that. If you are looking to genreify your collection, we have done a whole bunch of research and we've published a couple of different things on how to manage your genreification project. We do have these posted throughout our various websites. So library genreification, the do's and don'ts. Dewey or don't we, the difference between changing call numbers and running with genreification. We've done a lot of research into this, guys. We will be including links to these resources in the follow-up emails, as well as in all of the video descriptions that you'll be seeing with our recorded videos. Please take a look at these. We've done a lot of looking into it. The only thing that I can really say with genreification and call numbers, guys, is it's kind of open to debate. A lot of people say that you should start matching genres and call numbers. The more Library of Congress oriented style collections say that you should leave these separated. Call number should remain Dewey, genre should be held separately. In the end, really what it comes down to, guys, is that genreification, call number management, all of these things are up to you at your physical library, okay? Whether you want to go a genreified library using Dewey Decimal sorting within that call, or excuse me, within that genre, entirely up to you guys, okay? Personally, I think that matching call number and genre does make it a little bit easier for some people to find those items, but for a more professional level library, definitely recommend following the Library of Congress standards for call numbers, and then genreification just with your genre fields and things like that. You can search with genre using the new browse feature that we've added into our Alexandria program. If you haven't seen that, we have a brand new video that describes browse as well. Be sure to check out that video, and be aware that browse is going to get a whole bunch of updates with additional resources well beyond just genre. We're going to look at doing things with study programs and other resources as well, and it's just going to kind of grow going forward. So the biggest thing with those call numbers, though, guys, when it comes to management is that call numbers within the Alexandria program are really addressed in two facets, okay? Call numbers can be addressed by an import process. So if you are looking to update call numbers during your genreification process, the tool that you're going to be looking to do is an export and import. I'm going to export my existing information, make changes in bulk groups through that exported document, re-import to update those call numbers, okay? And we're going to show you more of those tools again here in just a few minutes. So as you can tell, there have been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of corrections to the overall program, but keep in mind, all we're doing here at Alexandria is we're making sure that we're just kind of following those new rules and letting things run as the program should from there, okay? Now, again, I can't drive this home, guys. Consistency is going to be huge in your program. The biggest tool for managing consistency is going to be your authority control, okay? Authority control is going to be the last topic on our overall webinar today. Before we get into all of those tools, all of those things for managing your collection and getting information updated and changed, the first thing that we want to do, though, guys, is we have a quick poll. We want to ask you a little bit about some of the item information, contents, things along those lines. But bear in mind that a lot of these things, as we go through them, there are going to be new things that you can use, like added subject entry and term entry and things like that for specific functionality, like when we're talking about adding information with circulation commands. So bear in mind that beyond just your publication tab here, the more information you include in your records, the more search results and things like that you're going to get as well. So go ahead, think about all those little mark record fields that we've just highlighted within the system. We're going to go ahead and open up that poll at this time. And once you guys have finished up that poll and we've looked over some questions, we'll be right back with you guys. All right, everyone, thank you so much. We were able to get that stuff kind of organized. We did have a couple of questions come in. First thing that we want to take a look at, though, are these poll results, and we've got some fantastic information here. Looks like everyone's feeling they know their stuff pretty well. They could do to know their records a little bit better. Even on our demo database, I find myself needing the same thing, guys. So this is great. I'm glad to see that we're all kind of in the same boat. So Same thing here. So it looks like some of you had some input as to what some of those new changes were that were going to be coming in. This is great. If you didn't know that at all, something that I've been trying to think about from a training department is how we can better make you aware of some of these changes as they're coming. So hopefully we'll be able to come up with a few more things going forward. And I do have some ideas, but I don't want to spoil those at this time. And it looks like you guys have kind of been trying to use some of those mark editing tools, but you're not quite sure on them. Great. That's why you're here. You're here to learn those a little bit more. So I'm loving the data that we're seeing here, guys. Everything's looking wonderful. So, all right. Well, now that we've kind of had a chance to look over some of those questions, I did have two that were presented to me. The first of which, we did have a couple of people ask about browse specifically. So I'm sure you guys have heard that we do have that new browse feature. Really quick here, guys, I do want to mention our Alexandria YouTube channel. So if you're not aware of it, check us out on YouTube. For everybody that's not aware of it, we do have the entire Alexandria video basic training hosted live on our YouTube channel. If you want to know any of the basic how-tos, adding patrons, adding items, importing records, all that stuff, it's all right there. This is also where we're putting out those new features like our browse video. Now, with our browse tool, everyone, really quick update onto where it's at. So because of the size of our hosted databases, we had to do this rollout in two pieces. We got about half of our servers updated this last weekend. The other half is going to be updated this coming weekend. So if you're one of our hosted customers and you're not seeing browse, give us a little bit of time. You should be seeing that come this weekend. For all of our self-hosted customers, people that are just waiting to perform that update so this feature is available to you, once we've rolled out that last update to our hosted servers, you should be able to go into your admin section and do that browse for update to find that new updated version and have this feature available to you at that time. Okay, so sorry about that, guys. It did just, we've got so many hosted customers right now that it took us 2 weekends to roll it out. So this is a good sign. This is a really good sign, but also means that we're going to be growing our team so we can get these done a little bit more quickly. Okay. If you haven't checked it out, though, again, be sure to take a look at our Alexandria YouTube page. Take a look at that new Alexandria browse feed video. Lots of cool stuff coming out with it. So that was the one question. Now, Seneca, we had one other question, correct? And it was about...
Nope, it was, both of them were about browse.
Both of them were about browse. Excellent. Wonderful. So thank you for the questions, guys. I'm glad that we were able to get that cleared up. Again, if you have any other questions, definitely let us know. But at this point, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start talking about tools and some of the things that you can use for managing content in your Alexandria program. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close out of our YouTube channel there. If you guys do need help getting access to that YouTube channel, just let our support staff know. They'd be more than happy to get you a link to that page. Okay. So when it comes to tools, everyone, the first place that I want to talk about is our utilities. So utilities are found in our toolbox area. And with our utilities, the biggest thing here is content control. Okay. So what we're going to be looking to do here is we're going to be looking to deal with mark tags specifically. And from our Alexandria basics and cataloging, we know that mark content is all a part of our title records. That's that, publication information, subjects, terms, all of those things that apply to the overall item itself. It's all found under that title section there. Some of the biggest ones right out the gate that we can address are right at the top of the list here. Adding a mark tag and changing a mark tag, okay? Now, both of these are pretty straightforward. They're great ways of getting any type of information into the system so that people can search on it, they can make changes to it, whatever they're needing to do, okay? A great thing for like adding a mark tag is if you're needing to go in and add specifics to subjects, terms, notes, anything like that. And as you can see, you can do any field at all. If I need a new 245H field, I can go ahead and specify that 245H is where I'm going to be adding my medium type. So with this one, I can go ahead and just say maybe my medium type is a pop-up book or something like that. Okay, so I can go ahead and make and add a full new tag, subcategorized and everything using this tool. And the biggest trick with it is making sure that I know which items I'm going to be doing that for. I'm going to be doing it for book 21306, 21307, and 308. There we go. Fat fingers sometimes get me too. So we can really easily come in here and say, add this information with our mark tag utility. By that same token, guys, changing a mark tag, all you're going to do is specify across, again, a group of items, 036, 21037, 21038. There we go. We need carriage returns in there. That looks a little bit better. And then here, I'm going to specify I want my information moved. Let's talk about our series information. I want it moved from my 490A field to my 830A field or something like that. Oh, no, 490 to 830. Oh, sorry. Pardon me. Change tag subfield. Sorry, guys, I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. So this would be, we want to change that 430A information from our 430A. There we go. 490 and 830. Wow, my brain is just not working today. Sorry about that, guys. This is 490. I've just talked about it a half a dozen times, but I'm not clicking here. So, excuse me. But in this format right here, we're specifying one specific field to look at the contents, and we're going to say from that field, move it to this field. Okay, so those two utilities. But so using this would be a very common way to move a tag from one location to another. This would be a great way of moving, say, oh no. Now that I've been thinking about series, all of a sudden it's got me a little bit confused here. I was thinking if I needed to move, say, a medium type into a genre field or a call number type, excuse me, not call number type, pardon me. Effectively, this will work across any field is what we're going to come down to here. Because we are saying change a mark tag, we can select just about any mark tag along with a subcategory and move it to a new location, okay? We do have the ability to create specific tags using things like our create genre mark tag. So if I had a genre that did not currently exist and I wanted to add it into something, I can use this tool to add it across the board to a wide variety of items really quickly. Or you also have the ability to go in, add it to one individual mark record, say find one specific item. So come to my tools or come to my items section. I can grab my book. I can come into my genre. And then once I've added it as a new genre, so I'm going to come in here and say I'm adding a new genre of wizards. And then once I've got that added as a genre tag, I can then use it as from an authority control standpoint to say add this across multiple items, update it for multiple items, or even use other utilities to add that in as a more group-based item as well. So with these utilities, guys, it is important to keep in mind the utility allows you to do it for a big group, specified barcode numbers, ranges of barcode numbers, groupings of call numbers, etc. But the bigger thing is that once you've got it into the system as well, you can always manage, maintain, and update that call number, or excuse me, that mark tag through authority control and all of those other tools, okay? So we do have a lot of great utilities here that you can use for any specific fields that you're looking for. As you can see here, we do have things like changing a title policy, changing series volume. This would be a big one for volume management, guys. As I mentioned, with our item records, zero padding is incredibly important, as well as making sure that you got the proper series information, okay? Our change series volume tag, what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to redetermine the prefix. So if instead of book, we wanted to use volume, I can go ahead and tell the system I want my prefix to be volume. And then after that, if I've only got those numeric values, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., it's going to go in and zero pad all of those for me. It's going to change book to volume, and it'll start changing those numbers from 1 to 001, from 2 to 002, and so on. Okay, so these tools are incredibly powerful. And in the case of something like this, feel free to go ahead and leave your selections blank so that you're just running it for the entire collection and saying, look at anything that has series information, make sure that it's got the proper prefix, volume, book, whatever you're looking to do that way. and then it'll go ahead and zero pad those numbers to make sure that they're showing up in proper displayable format throughout the researcher and other parts of the program as well. So again, all of those mark tag tools, everyone, are found under that title section. And with those titles, you can do any number of things, okay? The removal utilities, again, be aware that when you are removing information from Alexandria, it is a full removal. There is no reference to that item or information existing previously. So you'll want to be a little bit cautious of those. With all of your utilities, guys, keep in mind that it never hurts to go in and run an archive before beginning these steps. I do recommend just one archive before you start making all the changes. Don't worry about doing archives in between every single one. Just grabbing an initial archive right at the beginning before you start changing information. That way, if anything goes wrong, you've got a good restore point. You can get to that right here under your database utilities, or again, from your admin panel, okay? So we have a lot of utilities, lots of tools here to address things as a grouping. In addition to our utilities, other things that we can do is, as we mentioned, we can export and import information, okay? Exporting and importing is going to be primarily done for your call number changes. If you're looking to genreify your entire collection, you want to update your call numbers to match, you're definitely going to be using this tool, okay? Now, when it comes to our export and import option, again, importing and exporting are both going to be found in our tools section. We're going to start with our export option. And again, guys, because we're dealing with MARC records, we need to export item information. But the nice thing here is that we can really limit this to only dealing with title-based info. I need some call numbers, I need some ISBN numbers, and I need maybe the title so that I know exactly what I'm working for, and then, or exactly what I'm working with, very limited information. I can make all my edits and updates from there, okay? Now, when it comes to dealing with these exports and imports, the biggest part to exporting is being specific, okay? So when it comes to exporting, we can come under options. And when we're dealing with our formatting, I definitely recommend getting that out there in a tab delimited format. This way you can open with Excel or any type of spreadsheet program and see all of that information clearly lined out in different columns to address more easily, okay? If you're not familiar with Alexandria field headers or with the contents of your MARC records, definitely export with the field names. Just bear in mind that with the field names, you will need to do field mapping on import, okay? Once I've got that tab delimited file, I can be very specific and say, I'm going to go ahead and start off by deselecting all. I want to see my title call number. Oops, let me scroll down here. So all I want to see is I want to see my ISBN, my title information. I want to see my title call number. Did I pass it? Nope, call number. There it is, just down a little bit further. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and see my genre, okay? Again, guys, with exporting and importing, you're not limited to just making one type of update. If I wanted to do everything, call numbers, genres, medium types, I can go ahead and export all of those things at once and get that listed out there. I'm just going to go ahead and work from this information for now. So we'll go ahead and set those fields. Now, I don't want to run this for everything, so I'm just going to go ahead and say titles added today specifically. This will give us just one record here to work from really quick. And we're going to run that one. So with this exported file, we'll be able to go in, open that with Excel or any type of pardon me, any type of spreadsheet type program. Open with other. Let me get this open here with. Oh, we did not open with Excel on this computer, unfortunately. Let's just open with text edit for now. But as you can see here, guys, so all of that information, ISBN, title, genre, call number, everything is outlined in here. Now this item does not have a genre, so you'll see we've got a larger gap right here, indicating that that information is missing, but we do have the call number and everything else. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is, you know, a fiction TOL for Tolkien. I can update my call number in this fashion. We'll make sure to save that file. Oops, not duplicate. Delete copy. Sorry about that, guys. We want to go file and save here. And once we've made those edits and changes to the record, we can then come back to our tools. We can run our import tool. And this is where things can get a little bit more fun with imports, guys. Now, as we mentioned, because we're looking to change specific information like our call number, we might be looking to do some sort of other type of matching. So in this case, I want to make sure that I'm adding or updating titles specifically. Don't want to change any of my copy information, so I want to make sure that that's the one that I'm using. Now, I do have my ISBN number, so I can go ahead and match on that one. But this is where I can use those other things. For instance, if I wanted to change my ISBN, maybe I'm going to go ahead and match on a barcode, or maybe I'm going to match across title, author, and medium type specifically, so that I can change ISBN and call number as well. Okay. So that's where these other settings in our import window come into play, is when you're specifically looking to update, manage, and make changes to existing information in your database. Okay. Now, because we are going to be using a field mapped file, I'm going to make sure that I'm skipping that initial field, but I'm also going to go ahead and browse. And we want to look for our newly saved file. I believe we saved that to downloads is where we saved that. Actually, let me get into downloads here really quick. And there's our file right there. So we'll go ahead and open that one in. And then again, because we are dealing with a field mapped export, we're going to go ahead and have to field map our import as well. So from here, we just make sure that we find the proper fields, like our ISBN number, and we'll go ahead and drag that to the top here. Turn it on. Title, genre, and so on. For those of you that are familiar with field mapping for your patron records, field mapping for item records is the exact same. Okay. It's just you're going to have a little bit of a longer list over here on the right that you're going to be scrolling through to find all the information. Call number and our genre, a little bit farther here. Genre, there we go. And genre, there we go. So now that I've got my field mapping in place, I've got everything set up, I would go ahead and be able to run this at this time. Okay, now when it comes to call number changes specifically, everyone, there is one additional preference that you will need to be made aware of. Okay, and I do say that this is a preference because it is located in your preferences section. So really fast, we're going to go to tools, we're going to go to preferences, and in our preferences section here under items, you're going to find a thing that says preserve existing call numbers in your cataloging area. Okay, if this feature is turned on, guys, that means that on import, on update, none of your call numbers are going to be changed. Okay, by turning this feature off and saving it, it's going to mean that all of those call number changes with your import file are going to be updated and managed according to the new import file. So again, be sure that you're double checking this preference before looking to change those call numbers with your import file. Okay, it is very specific to call numbers only. Other than this preference, everything else that you want to update with any of those MARC record imports, genre, series, title, publisher, all of those things can be managed. It is just call numbers that you do have to watch for this preference on. Okay. So exporting and importing, extremely powerful tool, everyone. It gives you lots of options for changing tons of information as a group. The biggest thing that you're going to have to look for is ways of identifying those groups of items that you're going to export. I'm going to do all of my fiction A materials, then my fiction B materials, or something like that. Okay. For any questions or comments or needing help with getting those exports taken care of, definitely reach out to our support staff. They'd be more than happy to assist you with getting an exported file from your system, helping make any updates and importing for correction as well. Okay. Now, the last tool that we're going to talk about before we move into authority control, guys, is we're going to talk about circulation commands. Okay. So on top of utilities, on top of exporting and importing, there's a lot of things that you can do right in your circulation window to make some changes to your item information. Okay. Now, to get us started, I'm going to close out of a couple of tabs here really quick. And we'll go ahead and get rid of those utilities as well. We're going to come to our circulation window. And the first thing that I want to talk about is adding information. Okay, you can add all kinds of information right to your items through your circulation window using our commands. Now, we've mentioned this before. Under our circulation window, we've got our command help section. And the command that I want to point out here, guys, is called the assign keywords. Okay, so if you see it here in the listing, you can go ahead and click on it. You can also come to your filter and say assign and have that jump right to the top there. But essentially, the command that I'm referring to is this V command. Okay, using the V command, you can essentially add any type of information into one of these specific fields. Okay, I need to create a new genre for my books. Great, I can do that right through circulation. I'm going to start off by clearing my window here really quick. That's my X command. Then to go ahead and start assigning those genres, I'm going to go V space G, indicating the genre field. And the new genre that I want to set up is science fiction. Okay. Now, as soon as I've got that in place, you can see right here, it says G science fiction, meaning that it's going to be putting a genre field note. And then from here, any item that I scan into my system, 21548, 21549, 21550. All of those books that I just scanned have now had this new genre term added on to them. I can come into my item record. So if I come in here and look at my here today book, I can come into my genre section. There's my new term right there. Okay. If I need to edit and make changes to this, I can go ahead and select it. I can edit, I can make updates, whatever I need to do. Now, the beautiful thing with a lot of these genre terms and updates, everyone, is that with our Alexandria program, you can see I changed my item records. I double checked that it was still there. I come back to circulation. I'm still in my assign keyword setup. Okay, so I can just move on to the next item and the next item and the next item. When I'm ready to start on a new group of items, I'm going to go ahead and throw in my X command to go ahead and clear that out of there. And then I'm going to set up my next one, V space G, and maybe these are my fantasy books. And I'm going to go ahead and start setting up and scanning for those ones. Okay, but you're not just limited to genre, guys. As you can see here, we can do subjects, we can do curriculum terms, we can do bibliographic notes. So let's take another example here. My teachers have just given me a list of all of their summer reading materials. Great. I want to make it easier for my kids to add that. So I'm going to make that a curriculum term, right? So I'm going to come in here and go VC, and this is for Smith's summer reading. Okay. And now any books that I scan in from here are going to go ahead and get that new genre term, or excuse me, new curriculum term. And again, the beautiful thing with those curriculum terms, with these new genre terms, all of these things are searchable, guys. So when my students come in, 21598, keys to a demon prison, wonderful. So now I can come here and search Smith summer reading. And right there's the book that I just added that new curriculum term onto. Okay, so keep in mind, guys, circulation commands, extremely powerful, great ways of getting that information in there and on your item records. And to go along with our circulation commands, we're going to show you one very specific ZZ command here really quick, guys. So this ZZ command that we're going to go over is something that we typically don't usually want to talk about outside of under the kind of tutelage of an Alexandria technician. Okay, basically with our ZZ commands, these are very powerful things that we want to make sure you're in that kind of specific scenario to be using. In the case of this one, though, we are going to be creating this as a new utility here in the near future. So the idea here is at this time, we want to show it to you guys so that you'll go try it on your collection right now. And then after we've got the utility made, we want you to start setting up and scheduling this utility just to make sure that the information is in the right location. Okay. And what we're talking about here, guys, is ZZ fix series. Okay. So ZZ FIX SERIES. Okay. ZZ fix series. Now, what this command does, everyone, is, as we mentioned, our series information has been moved from the 490 to the 830 fields, okay? Now, for those of you that have been using Alexandria for a very long time, or you're just kind of new to Alexandria v7, you probably have all of that series information in your 490 fields, okay? I'm gonna grab us a really quick item here. This is the item that we added earlier today. However, I'm gonna find it in a little bit of a different fashion. I wanna come in here and we're gonna search for the author, Tolkien, okay? Now, as you can see, we've got all of our basic books, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Hobbit. Now, the one that we want to talk about is The Return of the King, okay? The Return of the King currently has no series or volume information. If we switch to the Mark Record view, you can, however, see that we do have our 490 information, okay? So basically, this just means that we are missing this in the 830 fields, all right? Now, by running our ZZ fix series command, I'm just going to go ahead and hit enter at this time. We're going to get this message saying that that has been received. The program is processing it. And if we give it just a minute here, we'll be able to then come in and look at our item record in our simple view. So I'm going to toggle that mark view again here really quick. And voila, there it is. The Lord of the Rings part 3 is now in the proper location. And as you can see, it matches with everything else. The Fellowship of the Ring, the Lord of the Rings. Now, the one thing that it doesn't have is our properly padded volume numbers, okay? So there is some consistency cleanup that we will have to do as a librarian here, right? So we come in here and mark this 003 just to make sure that it matches. And save, there we go. But the big thing here, guys, is that fix series command. What it does is it takes all of that content that is currently in that 490 field. I'm going to toggle to our mark view again here really quick. And it's simply going to copy it. So 490 right there. And it's going to duplicate it into that 830 field. All right. That way the information is showing properly across all avenues of the program. Okay. So again, ZZ fix series, very important for managing that series information, especially. And look forward to that new updated utility that you can schedule and get on an actual process to just run it, maybe once a week, maybe once a month, to make sure that that information is in the proper fields, okay? So great tools that we can use from circulation, our fix series command, our assigning keywords command to get all of that information in there really quickly just while scanning our items. But if you have any questions or if you need any help getting those set up, definitely let us know, okay? Now, the next thing that we're going to be talking about, guys, and we've kind of hinted and alluded to this all through the workshop today, authority control. So authority control is a really fantastic tool in Alexandria. Essentially, it's the place where we catalog all of the little kind of nuances and subtle details between all of your information, both patron and item oriented, okay? To find your authority control, you're going to go into tools. You're going to go into authority control. And here in authority control, as you can see, you've got just all kinds of information right at your fingertips. Now, authority control does work kind of in two different ways. Anytime that you add information into an item record, into a patron record, be it a homeroom, a subject, a search, or pardon me, an interest term, anything along those lines, that information will get updated into your authority control. Now, in the reverse, if you come in and make changes to your authority control, it's going to push out changes to those patron records, to those item records for that new content, okay? Now, there is one little caveat that's going to be with our medium types, and we're going to talk about that here in just 1 second, okay? But essentially, any other piece of information, you can go ahead and update from here. So for instance, on a patron level, let's say that Mrs. Banner went out and got married over the summer and she's now Mrs. Johnson. I can come in here and I can actually use Alexandria to change all of that information in my patron records, Johnson, and go ahead and make that correction. Okay, now bear in mind, guys, that if you do have automated import processes or if you're syncing with your student database via Clever and things like that, making those changes here can effectively be reverted by those import processes. So it is best to get that information updated on your student information system initially. That way, once you do the change in Alexandria, it's not going to be getting flipped back and forth between the patron import and the authority control changes, okay? So, but bear in mind, great tool for managing all that information. But as we mentioned, this goes beyond patrons. This goes all the way into our item information, okay? So a big one here, guys, is let's talk about genres. We've been looking at browse. We seem to have a whole bunch of different genre options. So by coming in here to authority control, going under titles, where we're going to find all those mark record fields, and then going, or mark record fields, excuse me, and then going under genre, I can see a full list of every genre that I have in my collection. Now, where this is a great tool for management is in this case right here. I've got fiction, I've got fiction. The only difference is one has a period and one does not. Great example of something I need to fix. I don't want them to have periods, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change fiction with a period and remove it. That's going to change it for approximately 1,200 records. We're going to go ahead and say okay. And then when I'm done, guys, I should just have one line item for fiction, universal accurate spelling for what I want it to be in my database, okay? So all of my item records that had just fiction as a genre, they're gonna have that corrected to say fiction in this fashion. So if you're seeing fantasy spelled in multiple different ways, maybe there's capital F, capital A, NTASY, this is where you're gonna come for cleanup. You can actually search to get a very refined list. I want to see everything that starts FAN so that I can start genre or cleaning up all of that specific areas in one shot, and then grab each term afterwards and make sure that it matches the rest of them, okay? So the authority control tool is extremely powerful, and just like everything else, again, when you're making changes through utilities on individual item records, you'll see those things updated here as well. Now, the biggest thing to kind of address from an authority control standpoint, specifically everyone, is our medium types. And the big one here, we kind of talked about it initially, text unmediated volume. Those items that have that information in those 336, 337, and 338 RDA fields, okay? Now, by coming into our medium section, and you can see we do have medium isolated so that you're not trying to dig into a different area to find it within a subcategory. And here under mediums, we have an option for term and alias. Now, the alias, everyone, is a term that you can set up so that in all other parts of your Alexandria program, instead of seeing this information, they're going to see something else. So we kind of talked about text unmediated volumes, written information located between or contained between two covers that doesn't have any music or anything. That's a book. So from here, I can edit my alias and I can say book. And then going forward on the patron-facing researchers, on my Alexandria librarian pages, anywhere that this text unmediated volume information would generally display, we're going to be seeing book instead. Still image unmediated volume, hey, that one right there, that's a picture book. So I can go ahead and clean that one up while I'm at it, all right? So, and bear in mind that you're going to see this in a variety of different ways. Some of them could have brackets around it, some of them do not. Where this information is from, guys, is the mark records specifically. So the reason we are seeing sound recording in brackets is because in our item records, sound recording has brackets around it in those mark record fields, okay? Same thing that we can do here now in the case of things that are not controlled by those RDA values. So like right here, we have book and book. If I want everything to have book with a capital, I can go ahead and edit a term. I can change book to capital book and end up with only one of them, okay? So it is very important to keep in mind, guys, with those RDA fields, you can only create an alias. For anything using standard 245H, you can actually go ahead and edit terms specifically, okay? The one additional thing that I want to point out to everyone from authority control, just kind of as a carryover from some of our previous things, are under subjects, the ability to say C and C also. This is where you're going to build out all of those things as well for your items. So if they like to be able to say, I want to see abnormal psych, and then you want to show additional resources, go ahead and come in here and edit those C and C alsos right from your authority control section, okay? If you're somebody that transitioned from version 6 to version 7, this did not go with your system, so you're going to be looking to recreate these anyway. So definitely be sure, come in, check out authority control, and get all of those new pieces tied into your system to share more and more details of your collection with your students. So, all right, guys, I know that we've covered a ton of ground. We've gone over a couple of different modules. And unfortunately, I am really bad at dealing with slides, guys. I do want to apologize that. So as a quick recap, we talked about item records, consistency, key above all, vendor specifics, guys. Don't forget to tell your vendors what you need. I need my 830 series information. I need to make sure that my genre is in 245H. Any of those things you should be able to specify to your vendors. Call number layouts, barcoding information. Make sure that they're as familiar with your collection as you are, and they should be able to provide those records in the proper format. Tools to use. We've talked about MARC field add and update utilities, as well as tools within the MARC records for controlling those. The ability to export and import information for managing and updating all of your content needs. Circulation commands for doing your fixed series information, as well as going in and adding search terms and bibliographic notes and everything else that you need to right from your circulation window. Under authority control, we've gone a little bit more into where it is and what you can do with it, different pieces of content and information that you can add and update, as well as edits, aliases, and we even talked about C and C also from a patron and visitor standpoint. Don't forget authority control is your friend in version 7, guys. Get in there, be aware of it. In the end, once your database is set up, authority control is something you can probably get away with looking at maybe once or twice a year, just to make sure that things are running smoothly, okay? So we've covered a lot of different ground. We've gone over a couple of different things. There have been questions that have come in. What we're going to be doing at this time, guys, is we're going to go ahead and open up one more quick poll, just looking to find out a little bit more about some of that understanding of the tools, and then we're going to be addressing afterwards. So if you haven't had a chance to get in those questions, go ahead and get them in now. Otherwise, we'll be with you in just a few seconds once we see what we do have. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We appreciate that brief little time to let us kind of look through your questions. We'll go ahead and share those poll results here really quick. Wonderful. So it looks like those utilities for editing and those circulation commands are going to be some of the biggest things for managing your data. Great, guys. We're really excited that you found something that you can use. And just keep in mind that if you ever need help with them, definitely reach out to our support staff, okay? I'm loving seeing that you guys were aware of authority control and that you kind of had some ideas of what you could do with it. That's fantastic, guys. You know, in version 6 with Alexandria, we were a little bit more hesitant with authority control because it couldn't quite do as much. But at this point, as we said, authority control is going to be one of your best friends. So we're glad that you guys are using it. And hopefully going forward, you guys are going to be using it a lot more. So excellent. Thank you so much. Now, we did have a couple of good questions come in here, and I'm going to go ahead and have Seneca just read those off for me. So Seneca, what do you got for us on our first one?
So our first question is from Patricia, and she would like to pretty much just go over that ZZ fixed series command again, just kind of reiterating how it works and what you need to enter.
Wonderful. Okay, yeah. So Patricia, great question. Now, as I mentioned, guys, so ZZ commands are something that we've always wanted to be a little bit careful of, okay? Usually we only want you using them when you're on the phone with an Alexandria technician, okay? In the case of this ZZ fix series command, and I'm gonna come back in here and I'm gonna type it in one more time, ZZ fix series, okay? Now, in the case of this command specifically, guys, what it's gonna do is it's going to go through your entire collection, every single item record, and it's going to look and see, is there a 490 field? And if so, does it have a matching 830 tag? Okay. If not, it will copy the information and move it into that proper location for being displayed. Kind of like what happened with our Return of the King book here. Okay. Otherwise, if you run that command and we do have matched information between 490 and 830, it's just going to go ahead and skip past that record and move on to the next one. So it is essentially just a copy command. It's going to come in, it's going to look for this information right here, and it's going to make sure that it is duplicated into this field. Okay, it is a one-to-one. So as I mentioned, we did have to do some cleanup. I manually changed the part 3 to say 003 in the item record. But other than that, it is just going to, again, pull from that 490 and duplicate that information into the 830, okay? This is why I say don't worry about how frequently you run it. If you want to do ZZ fix series every day for the next month, you can go ahead and do so, guys. It's not going to cause any problems. The bigger thing that I'm going to stress here, everyone, is that when we do get this created as a utility, and it should be coming out here, I don't have a fixed version yet, but we will be updating our notes about this webinar with that information. But once that utility is in place, my recommendation would be go in there and create that utility to run on a schedule. Every Friday, I want my I want my fixed series utility to run to make sure that all of my series information is showing in the proper fields in Alexandria. Okay, so for now, don't be afraid of running that as many times as you need to, but when we do get that change in, don't forget to start using the utility to match, okay? Hopefully that got the question answered, Seneca. What else do you have for us?
We have one here from Kathy, and she would like you to go over kind of a two-part question. Where do you find genres within Alexandria itself, and where do you get genre information in order to place it within Alexandria?
Okay, excellent question there. So when it comes to genre information, typically this information is going to be included in your MARC records. Now, what this means, guys, and we're going to look at our MARC record view here really quick. So as we mentioned, our genre is found in our 655A field. So in a MARC record view, we're going to come down here to our 655A, and there's our fiction. Now, this content should typically be included with your MARC record. So if you placed a book or an order, excuse me, with like a Fontes and Pinnell or something like that, they should include this genre information with that item, okay? Now, in the event that the information is not included, easiest way to add that information is right into the item record, okay? Now, our genre field, as we mentioned, is controlled by authority control. So if we come back here, again, titles, genre, we have all that information here in place. To get something into genre, it's as simple as adding it to an item. So if I'm going to take this book and say it's no longer fiction, we're going to say that this is just a test genre, for example. I can go ahead and add that here and hit save. Now, when typing it into the item record, it is going to be adding that information into the 655A field. So if I click on my MARC editor, you can see 655A, there's my new test genre. And then in my authority control section, I do need to reload this here really quick. Tools, authority control. Now when I come into my genre area under titles, I should be able to scroll down here. And with some of these, it may require an actual verification or a nightly maintenance routine, but we would see that test genre in this area. And then with genres, guys, the biggest thing is that if the genre exists, you can, when creating it, or excuse me, when adding it to items, you can allow for shadow text to finalize for it. So like right here, I've got science fiction as an option. If I come back to my item record, get into my Return of the King book here, I'm going to go ahead and take genre, let the system catch up. We're going to back that out, and I'm going to start typing in science. Fiction. And sorry guys, we do have a little bit of a delay there, and I don't know if you could see it. It went rather quick, but if you can see, it says science FI, and then it finishes CTION. It's got shadow text in that window, if you can see that. And what this means, guys, is I can simply go ahead and hit enter or tab and have it finish and spell out science fiction for me. Oops, that tab key didn't take. There we go, science fiction. It auto-completes, and then I hit save, okay? So once that genre is added into my authority control, I can then get shadow text to populate around it to make it easier to keep things uniform in the records themselves. But the long and short answer again is that if you don't have the genre added into the item, it'll be updated in authority control, or make sure that your vendors or wherever you're getting those MARC records from contain a genre field. If you're doing a manual edition, so I'm going to click plus here, I'm going to add the book 7 Deadly Wonders really fast. So in this case, I can actually come into my item record here, and as you can see, I don't have any 655 information. So when I bring in this record, I'm going to be looking to update genre manually, okay? So I can just hit continue. And then at this step right here, when I'm doing my record verification and finalization, and sorry guys, we got a little bit of a delay there. I'm going to go ahead and type in fiction. And again, shadow text autocomplete. There we go. And update it. Okay. So genre, you can request it from the people providing you the MARC records, but in the end, genres are all going to be managed by the librarian specifically in the end. Okay. All right, Seneca. Now, I believe you said we had one more quick question.
We do have a couple here
okay,
that came in while you were talking. One is from Patricia, again, just getting a little bit of clarification on that ZZ fix series.
Okay.
So if you have already ran series utilities to update or enter that volume number, will the ZZ fix series revert information to the incorrect information run?
Okay, great question, Patricia, and the answer is no. Essentially, that ZZ fix series is only going to work if there is no information in those 830 fields. So if you've already created it and have it properly formatted for your collection, it's going to skip that record and move on to the next one. So it's only copying and moving it if that information is not there. Okay, so excellent. Next question, Seneca.
Next one is also from Patricia, and this is about recommending either using the curriculum term within the item record or setting up lists within Explore Builder or in that search interface.
Okay, wonderful question here. So, Patricia, you're really getting into this item search, and I love this question because when it comes to a recommendation, it really comes down to how much information do you want in your items. So the reason that I would do a list around a button specifically in our Explore Builder, so we're going to jump over to search really quick, guys, and we're talking about Explore Builder buttons now. The nice thing about a list is that a list allows the teacher to change that list every year and not necessarily have any duplicates. So this year I had one set of 50 items. The next year I have a completely different set of 50 items. By her sharing that list with you and you building a button around it, you're just going to make sure that you have only those items. Now, the bigger thing with adding a subject or curriculum term so that you can do a search, like when we were referring to, you know, searching for, I believe it was like Smith or Johnson. I can't remember what we added on our term. Smith's summer reading, right? Smith's summer reading. Let me just back up a little bit here and let me get those items. So in the case of doing something this way, guys, with adding a curriculum term, now, if that teacher no longer wanted that item to show up specifically, then what we would need to do is we're actually going to be forced to go in and remove the curriculum term that we added so that that item no longer shows up, okay? So that's where it really comes down to more of a personal level. So we were dealing with this one, keys to the demon prison, right? So in the case of this one, if I didn't want this to come up by searching summer reading, then I would need to go in and remove an actual full subject, okay? So really it comes down to how much cataloging work you want to do as a librarian, in which case I would usually typically recommend a list from the teacher. That way they're kind of more responsible for it. It's going to put more of the control on their end, and then each year they just provide you with that new list. Otherwise, you know, you can always come in and add those things like crazy to subjects and terms and everywhere else. And then you can always use your tools to go in and say, you know, remove a specific subject term or a curriculum term or something like that via utilities. In my personal opinion, lists are going to be a little bit easier than managing subjects, but subjects and terms are a great way to get in there really quickly and give a searchable topic to an item. Overall answer, though, is personal preference for your facility. So sorry, I don't have a better answer for you guys than that one, because really, and that kind of addresses the bigger thing of genrefication, guys, is keep in mind that when it comes to genrefication as a whole, there's a lot of conversations about genrefication. Should I change my call numbers? Should I not change my call numbers? What are my proper genre fields and things like that? And again, don't forget, we're going to send you lots of links, lots of information into the research that we've done around those things. And hopefully that's going to start, you know, jumping off and giving you a little bit of a place to start thinking about those considerations as well. So look for those links in our follow-up videos, or excuse me, in our follow-up email, in our descriptions on our YouTube videos when we've got those posted. And if you have any questions, let us know. So, okay, Seneca, I think we've got time for maybe one more question. What do we got?
One last but not least is, how are you going to be able to access this information again? If you were interrupted or you had to step away from your desk, how can they watch this webinar?
That is a great question, guys, especially for a wrap-up. So when it comes to all of our training resources, guys, when it comes to any of our monthly training workshops, our training webinars, just as a heads up, we're going to start doing new production videos as well. So as we have new features like our browse coming out, you're going to start seeing release videos and content that way. Best thing that you can do, guys, if you've registered for the webinar itself, watch your email inboxes. We're going to be sending you emails and links and things like that to where you can rewatch any of this content because they are recorded. You can jump to any part of the recording that you need to just find that spot information that you missed. The other thing, everyone, don't forget, check out our Alexandria YouTube channel, okay? If you haven't come to YouTube and looked us up before, we are found under Alexandria Library Software right there. And you're going to be able to find all of this in our YouTube channel as well as on our support center. So all of our support information gets documented with FAQs, links, additional resources. So we're going to have this supplied to you in a variety of different ways. As soon as those recordings are available, again, if you've registered, we'll be sending you an email. The other thing that we're going to do, guys, is don't forget, in your Alexandria circulation window here, we have our message center. That's our chat bubble, top right-hand corner. You'll be alerted as soon as those resources are available right here as well. We'll send you links. We'll send you all kinds of information so you can jump right back in there and pick up where you left off, okay? The one additional thing that's always going to come with every Alexandria webinar, workshop, anything like that, guys, following our session today, we will be sending out a survey link, okay? Or excuse me, we're going to be sending out a survey. As I mentioned at the beginning, guys, we love your feedback. We showed you that slide where we're showing you how much we're trying to pool this information to get resources to you that you're needing. So please let us know with our surveys, on our tech support calls, what information that you're missing, because we are using that to drive content creation, okay? Just as a little sneak peek into next month's webinar, for the month of April, I believe we're going into April. This year is going by so quickly, guys. For the month of April, we're going to talk inventory. We're going to be doing 2 sessions, one for our version 6 customers, one for our version 7 customers. So please keep an eye on your email inboxes. Those will be going out here in about 2 weeks. And be sure to get registered for the proper session. If you're a version 6 customer, it's not going to hurt you to register for version 7 just to see how inventory is done over there as well. But we will be doing things a little bit differently than we did last year. Last year, we tried to do it all in one quick webinar. It worked, but not as well as I wanted it to. So we're going to go ahead and break that up for you guys and give you 2 dedicated modules, okay? So don't forget, Alexandria's April workshop is going to be all about inventory, and we're going to get as in-depth as we possibly can. So, all right, everyone, it's been a real pleasure working with you all today. I hope that you found some wonderful information out of our workshop. If you have any questions, if you need any help or support, definitely reach out to us. If you need any help from the training department, ask for a trainer, and if we're available, we'll be right there to help you out as well. But otherwise, best of luck out there with your Alexandria system, and we look forward to seeing you in our next workshop. Take care, everyone.